So, let's just start with the question. Can you use your 401k, for those of us that are fortunate enough to have one, to buy a house? Uh, I need to concentrate on you learning the differences between loans, withdrawals, the tax impacts, the lending risks, and what the long term financial costs are to doing this. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most misunderstood strategies in home buying, and that's using your 401k as one mechanism or another to fund the down payment. Yes, it's allowed, but the financial trade offs are bigger than a lot of people realize. And what we're going to talk about today is going to break down and lay out the rules, all the risks, and how tapping your retirement savings for a home package needs to be unpacked. So let's get down to it. Using your retirement savings to fund a home purchase is legally permitted under the current rules, but the financial trade offs are kind of significant. For real estate professionals that are advising clients, you need to understand the difference between a 401k loan and a 401k withdrawal. It is critical because each option carries very distinct tax, lending, and long term wealth implications. The IRS permits borrowing from an employer sponsored retirement plan. That's a 401k, or there are 401(b)(3)s out there as well that qualify for this. The buyer can take the lesser of either 50% of their vested balance or $50,000 as a loan. Repayment usually happens over a 5-year term through some plans, and they do have some that will extend the term for home purchasing, particularly. But key point, you cannot take a loan against an IRA. Only withdrawals are allowed from those. Now, some of these 401k plans also allow hardship withdrawals. So buying a permanent residence, but those coming with taxes, and if you're under 59 and a half, there's also penalties associated with it. Currently, it's like 10%. But again, unlike the IRA, where first-time homebuyers can pull $10,000 penalty-free under the current administration's guidelines, 401ks do not offer that exemption. So we need to make sure that we understand that, especially when we're talking to our clients. So the 401k loan, taking a loan against your 401k through your current employer, avoids the immediate taxation and the penalties. The interest that you will pay goes back into your own account. You are borrowing against your own money from a investment diversification program. So lenders still count the person that you're actually buying the home with. They will still count the repayment plan towards your debt to income ratio, which may reduce your mortgage eligibility, but the opportunity to take a loan against monies that you already own, leveraging your wealth is far more valuable in most cases than you taking money directly out of your savings account and essentially taking cash out of pocket. A withdrawal, on the other hand, hits hard. A $30,000 withdrawal, for example, for someone in the 22% tax bracket, that's about the average for people that have 401k jobs. It could trigger almost a $7,000 hit in federal taxation, plus potential $3,000 penalty, leaving only about 20,400 before state taxes if you live in a state that takes those. That is why most of the financial pros are going to tell you, please consider a withdrawal at the last resort. Loan is certainly optional if you have that capability. It's got to make financial sense to you, and it cannot affect your debt to income ratio with the loan repayment. But otherwise, you're borrowing money against your own money. So, what are the hidden risks, right? Two big risks that stand out against ever doing this. Number one is employment. If you leave your job, voluntarily or not, the remaining loan balance is usually due by the next tax filing. If you miss that deadline, and then the loan will flip and it will become a taxable distribution. And that's going to make taxes and the penalties that we talked about earlier be forward facing. Number 2 is the lending risk. Even though 401k loans don't show up on a credit report, lenders are still required to disclose, and the repayment will absolutely affect your DTI ratio. There's also a long-term retirement impact. This is the part that most buyers underestimate by leveraging this option. By pulling money out of a retirement account, it interrupts the compound growth. Go back to my first example, the $30,000. What we talked about was if there's $30,000 left invested, instead of you taking a loan against it, that can grow to over $100,000 in 25 years, depending on the market performance, obviously. And you need to realize that home equity isn't liquid. So you're typically going to need to sell or borrow against the property to ever access that. So concentrating too much wealth in a single property is going to give you a geographic risk, since real estate values can widely move around dependent on the market. We honestly don't see it as much in Florida. We have almost a guaranteed growth rate year over year over year. This is the closest I have seen to the market being flat, and even in my area, we're at 2.5% this year over last year. So when does this 401k loan make sense? There are scenarios where this loan can be incredibly strategic. First, buyers close to retirement with large 401k balances and shorter investment horizons, this makes perfect sense for them. The money is no longer going to compound. So once they have stopped investing money into it, they're not going to have the financial abilities, and they're not going to have the matches from the employer that they had before. For those of you that don't understand what that means, typically the 401k that is sponsored by an employer has a percentage of a match as a benefit to you working there. So if you contribute, as an example only, if you contribute 3%, they will vest 100%, essentially a dollar for dollar match. So if you invest 3% back into their 401k system, they will also match your 3% dollar for dollar, and it becomes invested over an agreed amount of time. Ultimately, you're leaving money on the table if you don't take advantage of it. It is really easy, for you to take, especially those employers that are offering upwards of 6%. You're getting an additional 6% year over year simply by investing back in a 401k program, which is to your benefit and obviously to their investing benefit too. Now, using that loan to hit that whole 20% down payment threshold and avoiding that PMI, which can save you thousands over time, is the coup de grace. This is absolutely where this 401k loan makes perfect sense. For those of you that have experienced a PMI requirement on top of the loan already that you're taking, because in an FHA situation, you're averaging around 3.5% as the down payment. You had to have been at 20% of the property's evaluation before you can avoid the PMI add-on. So it's a definite money saver for you. But in those cases, you still want to be careful modeling the job stability, the repayment ability, the long-term financial outcomes, because typically 20% is a considerable amount of money. $500,000 house, that's $100,000 that you're taking a loan against. essentially a loan on a loan to buy a loan. So if not that, then what? Let's talk about some alternatives that you as a buyer can consider. And agents, pay attention, because again, you're stepping out of your realm of normalcy when you're talking about finances and when you're talking about these types of things. And most of you as real estate agents do not have a 401k or any type of investment account with brokerages that you're in. So before advising people to touch their retirement funds, I want you to recommend exploring, first off, the FHA option. You've got anywhere from 3 to 5% down on a conventional loan through FHA. The best part about that is that it's less money out of pocket, as long as the PMI isn't going to hurt their debt to income ratio, and they understand that that PMI money is a loss, and that they're in an area where they can hit that 80% loan to value very quickly. It's certainly beneficial. Next, your state and local down payment assistance programs. There are a lot of DPA, down payment assistance programs out there. They are available to just about everyone. If you qualify for them, take the time and the energy to take those classes, take those certifications that they require beforehand, and then you can access those monies for the down payment, taking a huge chunk out of the money out of pocket that you would need. Next, Roth IRA contributions. You can withdraw those tax-free as long as they are used for the purchasing of a home. That is new for this administration, and it's certainly something you can take advantage of. Then, of course, there's the traditional gifting of funds, family or friends that are giving you money towards the purchase of a home, and you're making whatever arrangements you need to make for those. And then, of course, delaying the purchase altogether so that you can save more. Taking money directly out of the bank to buy a large investment like this obviously is going to save you money versus cost you money because you have a faster need. And today's segment was intentionally supposed to be a less time constraint than my normal segments. This is a lot of information for people to process. This just recently happened to us here at Keystone with one of our buyers, so it was very fresh information, and I want to make sure to get it all out there to our viewers. So again, using the 401k to buy a home is perfectly legal. It is rarely simple, and it is never free. The real cost is not just taxes and penalties. The long-term impact on your financial flexibility and the retirement capabilities are very real. For you real estate agents, it is crucial conversation so that you can guide clients through this. For the buyers, take a moment, slow down, run the numbers, and consider your alternatives before tapping into your future. We can certainly do a full podcast segment or something like this. And I would love to get one of my lender friends or my banker associates on the phone so that we can have a two-host conversation, the pros and cons on this one. But you'll see some quick hits. Some of the short form TikTok reels hit this week concerning this topic. Make sure to pay attention to those. Give us your feedback and your immediate expectation on these. Ultimately, the facts are very real, and this is a very common approach for a lot of people, so they don't, when they're in a situation where they cannot drain their banking account. This is leveraging your wealth, and you having the capability of doing this might put you in a better situation in a short-term strategy for a long-term gain. We appreciate all of you very much. Have a great day. Hey, just a fast reminder to a lot of you out there, Mother's Day is coming up. We have just entered the month of May. Don't forget one of the most important people in your life. Get in front of that this week so that you can look prepared for moms. Talk to everybody later. Have a great day. God bless. Do good business.